Steve and Yanni here with an interesting story from the past. Darryl Starbird's Predicta. Back in 1960, in fact, this is the August 1960 issue of Carcraft magazine. Carcraft was very involved with the burgeoning custom car scene. In fact, this is their feature on Darryl Starbird's Predicta. And we can see it had the bubble roof and a 354 Hemi engine with Hillborn fuel injection. It was a cool car. And the nutty thing is, this thing was rebuilt out of a wrecked Ford Thunderbird that Starbird said was found or hit by a train. And is that flowing okay, Donovan? You can see that all right if I hold it like that? You can see it. Okay, there's that T-Bird right there. It's a baby bird, 1955 through 57, of course. And I believe this one was a 55 that he started with. But with that said, he modified the car radically, and it became one of the first touring show cars, Darryl Starbird's Predicta. Well, often that sort of thing invites the attention of model car manufacturers like Monogram, which in 1961, or actually 64 says the box art right here. It says 1964 Monogram models. And of course, Monogram was one of the leading plastic model kit makers back in the early 60s. Now, Monogram models were a little bit weird because they were done in 1/24th scale, not 1/25th scale. So they were slightly larger than the model kits from Revell or AMT or companies, or Lindbergh even. But the beauty of this, I found this model at a local antique shop, and here it is right here. Now this model is molded in a color that is not correct. Now we all see the car here, Starbird's car was blue. So why would Monogram mold this in this beautiful sort of cinnamon red plastic? You know, I don't know why, but with that said, this is beautiful. Now this is not paint, this is actually molded in this metallic cinnamon plastic. But there's more. There's also a white parts tree with the interior, the seats, and the engraving and the detail. And this is very, very high. Here's the chassis. This is the Baby Bird body on frame chassis. Here's the Spicer model rear axle. That would make this then a 1956, because in 55, the T-Bird had a Ford axle, 57 a 9-inch. So this is the model 45 Dana, which is what was used under 1956 Thunderbirds. But there it is, correctly molded. Leaf springs, and a neat detail. And this is steering front wheels. This is the rod right here that goes from the steering lever inside. And beyond all that stuff, the chrome tree is beautiful. Here it is right here. Just beautiful stuff right here. The wheels. And in fact, we're going to try and show the Chrysler Firepower. You can see right here. Is that working, Donovan? Okay, pretty good. Can you see Donovan? Or can you see Chrysler Firepower right there? Right there. Should we cut? Is that Junker?
Nope, we got it.
Okay.
We got it.
Okay, there's the Chrysler Firepower. Are we in zoom mode right there? I'm in zoom mode. So there it is.
Lower. There you go.
Okay, so that's Chrysler Firepower. But anyway, beautiful stuff. Let's go back to me here on the couch. But the neat thing about this model is you didn't really have to paint it. And the decals and the instruction sheet, just beautiful stuff. And you got to love the Monogram instruction sheets from the day. This thing right here, a nice picture of the model completed, a little picture. And again, Darryl Starbird was a Kansas-based customizer. You might say kind of like a George Barris, you know, that big a deal back in the day. But here's all the pieces and parts shown, and it's a cool thing, man. And this is part of the reason why so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of American kids got into model car building back in the day. But here's the twist. If we really study this model, we'll see that it's actually different in many ways from the actual car. Now this is 1960, August of 60. We can see here the rear wheel openings on the original Predicta are sort of squared off, and it has tubular copper grille with this weird stuff, like looks like they're sort of like 59 Cadillac taillight bullets painted white as the grille. Well, by the time this model kit came out in 1964, we see that Starbird changed the grille to a tubular affair and opened up the rear wheel openings like this. And indeed, we see that stuff on the model kit. So again, many of these customs were, well, you might say works in process, because even things like the little coffin and a lot of George Barris's cars, from year to year, they'd be facelifted for the show circuit. Kind of a weird thing. But another thing here that I found in my magazine stash, this is the March 1962 issue of Carcraft. And I thought to myself, is it possible that Starbird facelifted the Predicta to make this thing here, which was called the Forecasta, which these infinitive Latin terms with the Asta on the end, but here's the Forecasta, which is very similar to the Predicta, but it's not the same car. How do we know that? Well, at first I thought because of the cinnamon paint, maybe this was what was going on here, but it's not. The Forecasta was actually based on a Corvair, and we only know that by looking at the story, and here's a shot right here of that Corvair power plant in the back of the Forecasta. But again, these old custom magazines are just awesome. And another thing too, of course, is Darryl Starbird. This is 1963, January 63, the newest of these three magazines. And we can see here that bubble tops were a big deal in the early 60s. As customizers, well, they explored the boundaries of what customizing is. And here's this is Darryl Starbird's Fantabula right here. What a neat piece that is. But again, the plexiglass tops on these things were blown by vacuum, and there were some companies in Southern California that did cockpits for the Air Force and other industrial applications, and Darryl Starbird and other customizers explored and discovered the bubble top. The only downside to the bubble top is, you can imagine, if you eat some beans the night before and the top is down, it might be kind of foul to be inside. And beyond all of that stuff, to be honest, it's not practical in the least. Think about the dirt factor, the dust factor, and in the rain, how on earth would you clean the windshield wipers? But what we have here, this is a recent re-release of the Predicta. This is from Monogram models, probably about 1995 or so. And one thing you have to remember is today, I paid $50 for this here. If it is complete, but if this box was crisp and original, I could see a collector at an antique mark or a model car show asking $200 for a kit like this. But here's the thing, Monogram saved the molds, saved the tooling, and they do re-release kits like we have right here. So you got to be careful. Don't pay too much for an old kit. Make sure it's not been re-released before you lay out the big bucks. If it hasn't been re-released, well, then you have no choice but to buy that vintage kit and pay whatever it takes to get that kit in your collection. So that's the story of Darryl Starbird and the Predicta and how it lived on in various ways after its initial construction. If you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Vignanti YouTube channel. Share this video with your friends, and by all means, stick around. We've got lots more coming.